The Henry Quick Cordless Cleaner comes in 3 colours, but they're all otherwise identical. It costs £300, which is quite pricey for a vacuum cleaner, but it's half the price of something like a Dyson, which is considered the best product available, technologically and in terms of performance, features and environmental impact. So at this price, the Henry doesn't appear to be directly competing with the best, and so it's not reasonable to expect it to be the best, even though it will be compared against that. This review will point out the facts, show what it has and can do, but it's important not to think pointing out where it inevitably doesn't perform is being negative or biased. It's just the rest of the truth. And that's the point of this review. It provides the full truth, and not just a misleading portion of it. Essentially, I'll cut through the half-truth marketing deception. All vacuum cleaners are supposed to clean, but some do it relatively better than others. I've been using a standard technique to fairly compare cleaners in a more real-world representative way, which is summarised in the table, and the vents on the head were closed during testing to maximise performance. The results show that, as expected, default mode performance, at least with a new bag, isn't the best, but also isn't the worst. It actually initially outperforms the more expensive Samsung Jet 90 and Shark products I've tested, but is outperformed by the much more expensive Cobalt and Dyson products. The results are similar for boost mode, although it does initially outperform the Henry Extra Mains cleaner, surprisingly, with the caveat that in boost mode, you only get a few minutes, and you're not supposed to use this mode by default to avoid destroying the battery. It's only for spot cleans of heavy messes. The performance on boost mode is actually not quite as good as the Dyson's default mode, which you are supposed to use all the time, and get several times longer run times, and without harming the battery. This is why you have to pay more for a better product, and these relative deficiencies, compared to what we know is possible with good design, are what the manufacturers don't tell you, in the hope they can take advantage of people and sell you the cheap clones. You get what you pay for. The main feature marketed about this machine is that it's mess-free emptying. That is, sadly, a half-truth, and this is one thing I wanted to cut through. While it is relatively mess-free, for all intents and purposes, because there's always some dust around the seals that gets everywhere, bags come with several big disadvantages that they don't tell you about. Firstly is the cost. Replacement pods come in a physically huge pack of 10, averaging about £1.30 per bag, which incidentally is a 30% markup on the much bigger HEPA flow bags on the main style machines. The pods only have a 1 litre capacity, so that's a considerable running cost over the many years lifetime of the product, making the Henry Quick far more expensive than the upfront purchase cost, and approaching the cost of a top-end Dyson. This is how they make more money from customers without them realising, and it's pretty shady, but no one seems to mention this. The other problem of bags is bad smells. All vacuum cleaners smell a bit because the dust and dirt they suck up is smelly, but not being able to empty after every use without increasing costs means the dirt festers and stinks in there for much longer. They know this and supply perfume capsules for exhaust air to try and mask the vile odours. Except that's another running cost, and the quick scent pods are another tenner a piece. The other problem with bags is that they're opaque and you can't see how full it is or when it needs emptying, meaning you have to get it out and feel, risking dust escaping that's all over the seals. Throwing bags away rather than just the dust within them is also hugely polluting and environmentally unfriendly. This is where they peddle another half-truth in the marketing. They argue their bags are climate positive and use 65% recycled material, but that's actually 35% of their 34-gram bags that's not recycled. This is wholly avoidable if you just don't use bags. So arguing climate positivity is misleading because they're automatically undermining their claims and could do so much more. Bags are a scam that are sold unwittingly to customers via the cumulative stealth tax of a false economy, and I've no idea why they aren't outlawed. They're so polluting and avoidable with good design. The final huge problem of bags is the major performance hit once they start to fill with dust. Bags clog up over time, and cleaning performance drops off noticeably. This is the reason why Dyson started out by completely doing away with bags. The earlier test performance data was for a pristine bag without any dust loading, which is not representative after you've turned the machine on. With just 60 grams of fine dust in the bag, the cleaning performance drops like a stone. This performance drop is smaller in boost mode, but again, you can't use the machine in this mode all the time. This dust loading condition is really the kind of performance you'll actually be getting, because the bag will always have some dust in it, but the manufacturer and the vacuum enthusiasts out there keep this a bit quiet. If you look at the data, you can see that with a bit of dust in there, performance drops enough for it to become the second worst performer of those I've tested. In boost mode, it manages to keep up with its mains counterpart, although you can't use this mode all the time or for very long. This is the consequence of bags. They completely ruin the machine's performance under real-world conditions. It's all very well advertising ease of emptying without mess, but you can't keep this pretty major side effect quiet at the same time unless you want to be branded misleading and a teller of half-truths. This is why I make these videos, because the vacuum enthusiasts don't. And just for contrast, the same dust-loaded test with the highest end product on the market shows that there's absolutely no performance drop, and the cyclones in the original bagless technology is absolutely fundamentally better. Dyson cyclones superseded bags decades ago and are clearly better, and is the reason why everyone else jumped on the bandwagon, albeit with copycat clones which don't work as well, as my other reviews show. All these problems are why bags were disfavoured decades ago, and they're still being blatantly sold, relying on people not knowing these things and taking advantage of them. This is what I mean by half-truths being worse than lies. They only tell you half the story and deliberately withhold information that paints the full picture, so you're misled. Look out for it and all those that support it online in reviews of this product. And after all the protestations and the only pro of being able to empty without mess, the original bagless and best cordless cleaner on the market by Dyson can easily be emptied without mess or any dust cloud because of its design that allows you to avoid dust splashing caused by dropping from height, and so none of these bag disadvantages are there. In fairness, the cheap rip-off bagless Dyson clones don't have Dyson's patented technology, and so they always splash dust and risk a messy emptying session, as I've shown in the reviews. I've made a video about cheap knockoffs and how it undermines good technology, which I'd encourage you to watch. Feature-wise, the Henry Quick is fairly basic. It comes with just two tools, a crevice tool and a standard Dyson clone combi tool, which themselves have been superseded in design and function by Dyson. They can fit onto the machine or the wand, albeit with the old-fashioned clunky clips. It's 3.2 kilograms, which is fairly typical, but the weight distribution isn't very good and makes using it for above floor cleaning far more tiring on the arm than better products. It comes with an optional handle, but all this does is put the weight further from your hand and makes it feel even heavier still in use. There's also no motorised brush tool, so cleaning upholstery and stairs is more difficult. The 50-watt floor head is basic and only half as powerful as the advanced head on the best cordless cleaner. It doesn't handle large particles, doesn't have side suction channels, and has no anti-hair tangle technology, which is standard on the best products. On hard floor, it can clamp down, especially on boost mode, which strains the motor, so they've provided a suction relief bleed valve at the top, although if this is open on carpets, performance will drop. It doesn't have any anti-static carbon brushes for fine dust, but copying Dyson's felt strip design at the back helps with this, although material does get caught in it and can be left behind. Its mobility isn't bad, with a clone of Dyson's swivel joint, but because they can't use a ball and have instead had to use two fixed wheels that are spaced apart, this restricts the mobility a bit and can sometimes cause waving when pushing forwards, but it's not bad. It does restrict movement in difficult places though that the best cleaner available can easily handle. It's also got a pointless small headlight at the front, which does very little short of vacuuming in a power cut at night. It comes with a wall stand, but this isn't directly a charger because when you mount it, you've got to manually plug and unplug the cable every time, which is a total hassle. Dyson already invented the auto charge when mounted system, and this is pneumatic's less effective clone. There's also no way to know how charged the machine is, or how much runtime is left during use thanks to the 4 vague lights, so you're using it blindly. You can get spare batteries at a reasonable price relative to some products, but having to use more than one battery in a given cleaning session is generally less ideal because it means more charging and changing hassle. One of the main reasons why its performance is relatively poor is because their motor isn't very powerful. A more powerful motor without better technology to increase power density would make it bigger and heavier, which means they'd need a smaller battery and reduced runtime to stop the overall product getting too heavy. But it would also mean more power drain, and shorter runtime still, and so the need for a bigger battery and weight. So it's a catch-22, and their technology limits the performance they can provide without adding too much weight, and that's shown in the performance data for the runtimes, which are far poorer than the best product on the market. This is shown by the correspondingly lower volumetric airflow, and this is partly why performance was relatively lower. In other words, their normal mode is much less powerful than the best on the market. They also don't tell you the capacity of the battery, which is quite unusual, and instead fixate on its voltage, which is completely irrelevant and is often used as a deception tactic, which makes sense if you try to hide shortcomings. The other area that's subpar in this machine is filtration. It isn't marketed as being HEPA grade. Instead, they vaguely refer to it as standard, and so it likely emits a lot of fine dust back into the air compared to the best product on the market, which is light years ahead. And this is not good for health and undermines the whole point of cleaning in the first place for many people. As far as durability is concerned, vacuum enthusiasts are quick to denounce Dyson machines for containing plastic, which is a vague term that shows no understanding of advanced materials science, and for only having a 2-year warranty. These same criticisms are not lent to this product, which almost certainly doesn't use as durable polymers and has the same 2-year warranty, driven mainly by the aging lithium-ion battery technology. There's a rubber strip at the back to help it stand up against walls, but its design is actually quite slippery, I noticed, and it can fall down. As far as noise, in its default mode, it's fairly standard at 70 decibels, but is quite piercing in boost mode at 80 decibels, surpassed only by the Loop Pure, and clearly lacks any advanced noise suppression technology. And this noise level is despite having a much less powerful motor. Almost every vacuum brand has now copied Dyson's pioneering cordless stickvac form factor, and the Henry Quick is the latest to jump on the bandwagon. Ironically, Dyson got a lot of hate by fervent vacuum enthusiasts, who argued the cordless stickvac was doomed to failure. The fact that virtually everyone has jumped ship now suggests they were completely incorrect, and the other companies can smell profit potential by copycatting on the cheap. While a cheaper product with very few useful features otherwise found in the best product might be desirable for some people, there are drawbacks people should at least know about so they can make an informed decision. Sadly, customers are deceived by half-truth marketing that deliberately withholds key information to paint a different picture, and it's up to other people to try and shed light on the full truth. Hopefully this review has helped with that. Ironically, this product isn't actually much cheaper than the top-end Dyson, thanks to the ongoing running costs from ancillaries, so users are advised to reflect on whether saving for a better product in the first place is a better decision if they're going to be spending this kind of cash.